Yeah. It's your boy, DJ Caveman. It's episode motherfucking 43.
Yeah, DJ I Monkey.
Yo, Chocolate Suavemente, Ray.
Alright.
We have a special guest.
Special guest in the building.
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Hello, everybody. Good morning. I'm ready to do some Sunday conversating.
Saturday?
It's Saturday.
Saturday?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Right.
We'll fix it in post.
Yeah, we're going to fix
We'll
this.
fix it in post. We'll just change that to
Yes. Thomas DeNucci, everybody.
Yes,
filmmaker, writer from Providence, Rhode Island. Excuse me, Cranston,
man.
Rhode Island. My bad. I'm not gonna get that twisted, but he's the writer-director of the brand new movie that just came out called The Vault, ladies and gentlemen.
Indeed.
Yes. It was one of the movies that I thought was next to Heat because I really like heist movies. And I got really low in my volume. I don't know why the fuck I just did that. That was really somber and
Well, because people might be listening because it's like a heist.
Yeah, but I feel like I'm romanticizing it. But it was just.
Thank you, man.
I just felt like Don. You brought like back Don Johnson like he was Mickey Rourke. Like you brought him back from the dead. It was like where. I don't know. I haven't been following his career, but like where has that been?
Don's been doing big things, man. He was in Django.
Nice.
Recently and.
Which one?
Yeah, he was.
He was a Django.
Don's one of those guys who's a veteran, man. He's been doing it for a long time, and there's no question when you get on set, it's just like, oh, okay. Cool. Put me here. What do you want me to say? All right, ready? And in like 2 or 3 takes, you're like, all right, we're going to move on.
Sweet.
Next.
Yeah, Don Johnson's consummate professional. So, how was everybody's weekend?
It's going pretty decent. My daughter got her hair done, so that's that.
Oh, nice. Yeah, it was good. I went to a concert last night. I was down at Mohegan Sun. Saw Godsmack play.
Oh, damn.
Wow.
Yeah, Sully Erna, the lead singer of Godsmack, him and I go way back because he was in my second movie, Army of the Damned.
Nice.
Yeah, so Sully was basically this sheriff of this town that, gets under attack by this evil undead spirit. And Sully's kind of like in a bit of an action role in that movie. So we go way back, and every time they're in town, go see the show, check it out. And they're awesome, man. They get better every time. It's a good old-fashioned rock and roll show.
Nice.
Cool.
I messed up last weekend. I didn't make it to the show last week, guys, so I'm very sorry. That's why I'm here. I was here earlier than everybody. I woke this guy up out of bed. So.
No, I was already up. I was getting dressed. I was like, oh.
Nigga, you had your shirt off. Let's stop.
Yeah, because I got out the shower. I was getting dressed. I was like,
let's be real in the convo. Nah, I'm just kidding.
Hey, man, maybe he was trying to get some morning cake before the show. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well,
Afternoon delight.
in the morning time.
In the morning time. Breakfast in bed.
Everybody get their peak hours.
Yeah,
Everyone's different.
Yeah.
How was yours, D?
Man, I do stuff.
Come on, man.
I ain't do shit, man. I had a wedding that I did.
You got married?
Nah.
Oh.
It's 7 days of Swan.
Oh, yeah.
My lady turns 40 on Wednesday.
Wow.
So
Happy birthday.
we've been doing something every day.
Is that a thing? I never heard of that. 7 days.
No. That's like her childhood nickname.
Oh, okay.
So
Swan.
So we've been doing something every day.
I thought that was like some kind of like relationship thing. Like,
we learned something.
Oh yeah, well when it's a girl's birthday, it's called 7 Days of Swan.
Yeah.
You can call it 7 days or whatever.
Oh, okay, that's cool. I was like, that's a cool.
Made it sound like a quinceañera.
Yeah.
I was like, oh shit, 7 Days of Swan. I like that.
Oh man.
So we've been doing shit. Last night we went to the batting cages because she wanted that smoke.
Wow.
Except she was fucking nasty in the batting cages.
Rip a few liners or what?
She hit a couple balls far and hard, and I was like, wow. Meanwhile, I fucking stunk up the joint. Go get it.
All right, be honest. What speed cage were you on?
We were in the 50 cage, and then it was like throwing the balls in the ground, so we went to the 40 cage.
Right.
But she was still ripping them, man. She played a little bit when she was younger. I played a little bit when I was younger, but...
Yeah, I remember. We used to play against each other.
You wake up the next day and you're like, why the fuck is my back? Oh, right.
Yeah.
That's why my back's...
The magical muscles all of a sudden show
I don't
up.
do that anymore, do I?
My swing is wretched now, so I got to go get a hitting coach because I can't allow her to dominate me in the batting cages.
Wow.
Yeah, we used to play against each other back when we was younger.
Yeah, I used to be good at that shit, but
Yeah, it was on stereo
I ain't
It'll
discount.
come back, man. It'll come back.
He don't let no one win. He
Nah,
not even
You're
a
a
child.
competitive guy.
yeah,
I
I'm
like that.
competitive. She beat me once at mini golf. Once. I was like, you're never
You
gonna
didn't
win
talk to
again.
her for 3 days.
No, I'm not a poor sport.
You were like, this
But-
is 3 days of silence. 7 days
He's
of
not
silence.
spiteful.
Yeah.
But you know, I'm gonna get that run back. And
I've been thinking about it the whole time.
yeah, I got some batting coaches. I'm about to work on my swing.
You brought Chili Davis in for the Boston Red Sox.
I might even go buy
He's
my
actually
own bat.
here. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Chili Davis.
Chili Davis is in the building.
He comes out.
He's here to help me with my swing.
With the old man walk.
Oh,
Dude,
man.
Chili Davis is sick.
Yeah.
He would help you out.
I'm sure.
Chili, come on the show.
Make sure your elbow, your knuckles line up, and you get your back elbow up by your ears when you're getting ready to swing.
Chili.
Yeah.
That was a really
That's a good chili.
I thought he was here.
So,
In spirit, he said.
interesting story that I was talking about offline, but I want to talk about this shit. Yeah, the transitions are hard sometimes. I don't know if anybody's seen it. It made national news.
What's it?
Motherfucking people registering their cars in Rhode Island. Well, they're from Rhode Island, but they're registering their cars in Maine. I had Maine license plates.
Dun, 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 dun.
So
there's a little bit of a scam.
there's a little bit of
a legal
happening.
scam, right?
Well, it's like a legal thing,
a
but
loophole, I think.
you
they call
know,
that.
Yeah, loophole.
here's what's happening. People in Maine, you don't have to pay. I mean, Rhode Island has crazy high taxes for your car and shit like that. And
taxes for your taxes.
Maine doesn't. So, and they have a law in the books that allows you to register your car because a lot of people have cabins and shit.
So basically,
So they can
Rhode
keep
Island-
their car up there. So what was happening is Rhode Islanders, like myself, found out about this shit.
Why are you implicating yourself so easily?
Oh, he already said it, so he can't
I already
back.
said it. Here's the thing. It like when you go on, like I had like legit Maine license plates because it's legal in Maine. But what's happening is people were getting tickets in Rhode Island on Maine plates. Like I know I drove back and forth to the airport. Like Easy Pass sends me mail and shit. Like I'm like I don't have these plates no more. I just throw that shit away. But Rhode Island's not getting their tax money.
Oh, shit.
So now everybody's in trouble.
Rhode Island is. They don't fuck around with
Well,
Yeah.
leave it. I mean, look, if there's a potential to get a one-up in any situation, the Rhode Islander will find out.
Oh,
Take
for sure.
advantage of it.
Be like,
That's what we do
hey.
best.
And if you drive, so there's
Yeah.
Like, that's what we do.
we do. Who do I know that could get this?
Yeah, like, and it's legal.
Get
Right.
this at a better price.
Nobody's breaking any laws except that they're not paying their tickets.
So they'll
Because-
probably just change something then.
yeah,
I
the
guess.
tickets are all going to Maine, and come to find out this place is just an empty lot with a sign.
So how many people?
So they must be doing must be like 6 people in an office.
Oh my god.
They do everything online. I got my plates over the phone. Like I paid a credit card
Never talk to a human.
over the phone. No, I talked to people.
Oh, okay.
But it's
Oh,
like,
yeah,
I did
we'll
like,
send you your plates.
I did like a
Don't
lot
you
of
know?
email. My plates came in 2 days. They came FedEx.
You get
Wow,
your plates
that's-
now. Like,
Is that a boot?
Drive around. When you drive around today, you'll notice all the main plates. But the state troopers are about to start pulling everybody over with a main plate. That's for
You
sure.
have fireworks or main plate. Get on the ground.
done.
Yeah. Gotta be careful moving them lobsters now.
Big money if you can move them.
Yeah, that interstate lobster game is.
The lobster black market.
Yeah.
Black.
What,
Yeah, the black market.
How much are you going for right now?
Well, I don't want to try to implicate myself, but I'm not part of that game. I'm not trying to move. Well, number one, I don't drive, so I'm not moving nothing nowhere without a license.
Depends on how big the claws are.
Yeah, well, we'll talk off mic.
You really must know.
We'll talk off mic.
We'll talk more later.
Wait,
You know, there's the A4 and then there's the A6. So the difference is the cook time as well. Make sure that it's tender. But no, we'll talk off mic about that. Either way.
Yeah, so fuck this mic stand.
Oh yeah, that mic stand
Oh,
was.
man.
You've been wrestling with that mic stand all night too.
Yeah, my mic is just slowly like down by my balls.
I think the mic stand
So-
also thinks it's Sunday conversation.
Yeah, it's like, you know what?
He's sleepy.
Yeah.
So, yeah. We're up against it, so let's get right into this Tom DeNucci situation. We had some technical difficulties earlier, so all the shit that we were going to talk about, we spent fixing those technical difficulties. But
Or like what, the Eckersley shit? The episode 43 shit?
episode 43, But I mean, like, we always have like a list of other shit to talk about.
Yeah.
But Tom DeNucci was kind enough to come in the building.
Yes, indeed.
It's all good, man.
Let's
This was only 15 minutes from my house.
A Rhode Island native. Yes,
Rhode Island
indeed.
native.
Yeah.
Yes.
Actor,
Yes.
writer, producer, director.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I never really set out to do all of those things, but out of necessity over the years, you end up just kind of wearing a lot of hats when you're coming up in the independent film world, and sometimes you're just forced to do a little bit of everything. But it's great, get to learn a lot of different ways to make a movie, and here we are.
What's the hardest part though about getting a movie made? Is it the script? Is it like finding the right actor or a combination of?
It's hard to say, man, because each part can have such specific challenges that you're going to meet. I think the script is definitely the most important part, because you really can't do anything without a great script. I mean, you could hire the best actors in the world, but if you have them saying something that doesn't make sense, or a poor story or whatever, people aren't going to like it, and it's not going to work out. So it's one of those things where I think the key is having a great script, and then from there is understanding that it is a collaborative process, and you need to step away from it sometimes and let other people come in and take your vision and make it even better. Because it's one of those things where you're working with at least 100 people at any given time. From a cast, maybe a cast of 25, 30 people, and then you've got a crew of about 50 people, and then you've got a couple dozen producers of varying degrees that are working with you, and then you've got marketing people once you sell the movie. So many people have their kind of finger in the pie, and they're kind of working on this thing. So it's one of those things where you have to be willing to give up some of that control and go, trust the process, because it's a long one. I was just telling you guys when I got here, we made Vault. Vault came out back in June. Available now on demand, be coming out on Blu-ray August 13th. But we made that movie about a year ago, back in May of 2018, and we wrote it probably a couple of years before then. And the story had been kind of a germ in my head for years beyond that. I always wanted to make a movie about the Rhode Island organized crime syndicate, and Raymond Petrarca.
Oh yes,
that's some history right there. So it's a long process, man. So it's very kind of, it's fun to just kind of sit back now that the movie's out and people get to watch it, and hear their take on it.
Yeah, just set it and forget it now.
Hell yeah,
yeah. That's great, because it's bringing that history of what was really going on. It tells the true stories of Rhode Island. And when I travel and I perform and all that stuff, and people ask me, the first thing they always say, usually I always try to go to a black comedy club to perform, because if you're doing comedy and you can't perform in front of your own people and make them laugh, where the fuck can you perform?
True.
So it's I tried, and I did that, and he's like, where you from? Rhode Island. They're like, they got black people in Rhode Island?
Yeah.
Because all in their history they've ever known is either Newport, Rich, or they've come from Providence, and they think it's very Italian based. And I'm like, no, we're a very diverse state, man. We got all different types of people in Crete.
That's one thing with Rhode Island, Providence in general, that people don't realize, is that a lot of companies like to test market in Rhode Island because of so many different
diversity.
Yeah. Like when you go to New York, you're not seeing a lot of Cape Verdeans or Cambodians or people from Laos. They're like, Cape Verdeans? Where's that from? So Rhode Island does have a rich culture and a rich diversity. And I was going to say, ask you, is filming in Rhode Island, what are some of the challenges that you come across with actually having a film done in Rhode Island?
I gotta say, man, I've made a lot of movies in Rhode Island, and I don't want to say there aren't any challenges, because every time you make a movie, there's going to be challenges, but it's smooth here, man. People really gravitate towards the movies. I've made movies in LA, and out in LA, I don't want to say people are jaded by the movie business, but they've seen it a million times.
Oh, they used to.
So it's no big, it's like, what? I gotta mow my lawn. So you're going to pay me to not mow my lawn? Otherwise, I don't give a fuck about your sound. I'm going to mow my lawn now.
Yeah.
Whereas in Rhode Island, the guy who's mowing his lawn would literally like stop and be like, oh yeah, no problem. I'll stop. Yeah, can I watch? Yeah, no problem. Watch the show. And they're like excited to even think that there's a movie shooting across the street from my house. That's such a weird thing to think about.
You know what it's like?
So it's welcoming.
It's like the Atlanta Braves. Like, when they were so good, it got to a point where people stopped showing up because they're like, oh, you know what?
They expected the Braves.
Yeah, they expected them
win anyway.
That's crazy.
Yeah, they're winning anyway, so
That's crazy.
I'm not fitting to pay this $4 for a water. You know, so I could just watch this at home on TBS, the Superstation.
Yeah, man, Ted Turner.
Yeah.
Shout out to Ted Turner.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, it's one of those things where Rhode Island's also great about, we've got a lot of locations that are very different.
Yeah, so
like,
there's a lot of cool.
you could be on a beach and then you could get in your car and drive 15, 20 minutes and be in downtown Providence and, shoot from the right angles and, it could look like an even bigger city.
And see, one thing that I always appreciated about Rhode Island, even though I don't like it as much being from New York, is that one thing my father always wanted to show us was like the country and the apple orchards.
Sure.
And the lakes and the woods. That's one thing about Rhode Island that people really don't talk about. It's like New York. Nobody talks about upstate New York.
No.
Nobody's going to Utica.
This is upstate New York.
Yeah,
Really?
yeah. Nobody's going to Detroit.
I thought it was just New York City and then Syracuse. And
Yeah, Buffalo. Maybe I'll go to Buffalo to see a football game, but other than that, what the fuck I'm doing up there? I ain't got no business up there.
Huge Bills fan. Huge.
Who, you?
Hey, I was for a long time.
Is anyone a Bills fan?
I
He was.
back there during the Thurman Thomas days.
Why? Thurman Thomas?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I remember that back in school.
If you're into like all-purpose yardage.
Thurman Thomas.
Yeah.
Thurman Thomas was an innovative back. He could catch the ball, and back in the day when guys,
He was one of the first hybrid guys.
guys weren't doing
catch
that as
and
much.
run.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, that was kind of like doing this mirror. Mime. Hear what I'm saying? Like when you talk, it was like those headphones.
Oh, that.
Yeah. No, I'm just trying to find.
Like echoing. That's the word I was looking for.
Echoing,
yeah.
Sometimes they do.
Mirror talking.
Is that what it's called?
Swirl talking.
Swirl talking.
Sounds good.
Oh,
to me.
you mean an echo? Right.
Yeah, when
you would
when it
talk-
says it twice.
When you were talking about the collaborative and stuff, I did want to ask you a question, but I didn't want to interrupt.
Go for it, man. This is a Saturday conversation. Hold on, Sunday.
When it comes to the process, and I always had this thought in my head,
Nice catch.
do you think that a great writing could make a shitty actor great?
I think, or I'll tell you what, that's a good point. He says, great writing make a shitty actor great. It can, but it will ultimately make a shitty actor great. And I don't want to say shitty actor because
Nah, I know. Maybe I should have said
the truth
that.
is, I would never cast
An
a shitty
unpolished,
actor.
an unpolished actor.
It just wouldn't happen. Like I would never put myself in a position. But I should say, how about this? If an actor that I did cast happens to be struggling with a particular scene, when you really can enhance it is the editing room. I've seen some really great performances be pulled out of the editing room in things called the pre-roll and the post-roll. Like there'll be times when the camera's rolling, we haven't slated it yet, we haven't hit the the clapper thing,
Action.
but the camera's rolling, so the actor might just be sitting there. It might just be naturally talking or conversating or react or whatever. And I've used that before and used that as a reaction or cut that in as, he turned and looked, but he was actually turning and looking at the sound man and I was like, hey, can you fix your thing? So you can steal little moments of human behavior that's a little bit more organic.
That's great.
In the editing room.
That's
So
great.
there's an old phrase they cut a really good performance, for that guy.
Wow.
I've heard that phrase.
Yeah, and hey, that's the thing. You never really know. That's if it worked, it worked.
I'm really,
good for them.
it's so crazy you said that because that was my next line of questioning, which I'm not going to do. It goes into the editing process. I feel like whoever is editing any movie, I never see
It's
any
scary,
person
man.
that gets a reward, and it's the most.
They don't have an Academy Award.
They do.
They do, but I've never seen.
It's
He's got a good
camera
point.
thing.
It's
They never
no one's
talk about it.
No one's name your favorite editor. And everybody can name a few directors that they like
Name one.
at least, but it's hard to name 4 or 5 really great editors.
Well, see, the other thing too is I thought that during this last Emmy cycle that they were kind of boycotting it because they were trying to cut it out of the broadcast.
Yeah, they didn't want to show the technical awards.
The technical awards.
Which is like,
some people,
what the fuck, man? That's what
all
it
those
is.
like all those guys.
How the fuck are we gonna make a movie?
Yeah, that's what.
and that was their
replace this
whole-
with robots next.
Yeah.
Then you got a time frame, then a deadline. I've done.
I can see why those people were upset because that's literally the heart and soul of the movie. The edit, the director of photography, the sound person.
What does the best
shit's
boy do?
Important. Best boy is another word.
What does the best boy do?
All right, so the best boy is basically part of the Grip and Electric team. They like the movie, and the best boy is basically like an electrician.
Oh,
So
okay.
like if
It's just a weird name.
it has to do with wiring and
It's just the name of it all. Best
yeah,
boy.
it is.
Like, you the best boy?
It's like I'm a man.
Yeah.
I'm the best man.
I want to be a king.
I'm 51 years old.
So give me my respect, motherfucker.
And then you got
Like, fuck that, you don't have to be so aggressive.
Best sir, you're the best sir man. Sermon.
You're the best Daryl I know.
So yeah, basically, the edit is key.
Yeah.
Oh god. Yes,
Putting
it
together
is.
the pieces. I worked with a really great editor on Vault. His name's Zared Shai, and it was cool, man. We went to Martha's Vineyard, which isn't too far. He's got a studio on the vineyard, and I didn't know what I was walking into. The guy was hired by my producer, Chad Verdi, and he was like, "You're gonna love this guy. You're gonna love him, Tommy. You're gonna love him. Trust me. He's a cool guy. He's a lot like you, about your age, all that shit." And I'm like, "All right, great. Yeah, let's give it a shot. Being open-minded." I go into the guy's office, and at first it's like, what the fuck? It's like he takes his shirt off right away. It's like, hey man, how you doing? Takes his shirt off. He's like, hey, listen, my back is like fucked right now. He's like, so I'm gonna lie down during the session, but make yourself at home, and if you and I'm a smoker sometimes, not all the time, but like when I'm editing. He's like, and I saw you got some cigarettes. He's like, I don't smoke, but you can smoke. Go ahead. I actually like the smell. And he's like on the floor, like writhing, like seemingly in pain. I just met this guy.
Artists.
I literally just met this guy.
Having a
He's
hot
like
yoga
half
section?
naked, like writhing on the floor,
And a hot yoga
on the
section?
floor of the editing studio.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, and you know what? I was like, all right, well, shit.
I didn't know it was that kind of party, but
It's one of those things where, like, sometimes, like, if you be your goofy self, it really helps. Relax the whole situation. And, we're like to this day really good friends, and we laugh our asses off every time we hang out. And it was just like a funny icebreaker. You know what I mean?
Nice.
So like because dude, when you're editing a movie, you gotta like be this close to the person for days and
And you're
days,
reviewing, like, are we going to cut here?
It's very close quarters, so it was kind of like hey, this is me. Well, all right.
Be like, wait, did you put on some new lotion? I can feel it against my arm. Like, we sat that close.
Let me
Like,
put a shirt on, Sarah.
yeah. Yeah, let's create some boundaries.
Yeah, but we had a good time, man. It was cool. And, I'm kind of one of those people. He's like me in the sense that when I'm working on something creatively, I could almost do it all day and night. It could be like that's the mission. It becomes, and I don't want to compare it to combat because we're not actually getting shot, and I have a lot of respect for armed forces. But it is like we're on a fucking mission, and it's one of those things where nothing else matters at that moment. But okay, we're here to edit for 2 weeks, or we're here to edit, 10 days in the editing session, and that's all that matters. So I like working with people that they're willing to, like, we're going to get up, we're going to get some food, we're going to start working.
It's like a single
Take a little
focus
break.
and a single goal.
A little more food, edit some more at night, watch some fucking wrestling from the early 90s, right? And, do something stupid to, like, get our heads completely out of the zone. Get back to it, and maybe edit all night long, you know what I mean? And then crash and sleep for a few hours and do it all over again. Like, that's the kind of creative work I like to do, and he's like that too. Like, I don't like to be one of these, like, chest by mail type, okay, well, I'm going to come in a session and send me some notes, and I'll download the file, and I'll watch it. And there are a lot of people that work like that, but I like to be in there and be like, show me that take. Show me this take. Oh, that's great. Oh, you cut it there. Let me see. And we go back and forth. And I mean, it gets exciting, man. It's like, it's nerdy shit. But like, we're
when you see
literally
it come
like,
together,
we're like
it's
high
gotta
five.
be-
And dude, at certain moments when we see a cut that we like, we're fucking high fiving and jumping up and down. It's like we scored a touchdown, and that's like the kind of energy that you miss when you do stuff like, hey, email me the link and I'll send you my notes, and we can do it that way.
That's how you should feel.
So yeah, it's fun to be in the control room like that, sort of. But yeah, editing's fun, man. That's probably one of my favorite parts of the process, because when you make a movie, like I said, there's this 100 people that kind of follow you around. That follows you around like a beehive. And then when you're editing, they're all gone. So all those
It's
voices,
just you all by yourself.
all
right?
those voices. So it's like the guy who said this, or maybe we got to do this, or I don't know about that. Then it's like all those suggestions get piled on top of you, and you're like, okay, I got all these suggestions from all these great, talented people, but now it's ultimately up to me to decide like what's going to get implemented, what's not going to get implemented, and how do we do this all in 3 weeks to meet our deadline. Deadlines are another scary thing.
Yes.
It's very scary to think that you might have missed the golden take. Like, what if we missed that? What if I didn't see that one take, or and that's why, of course, you have notes and things like that, and script notes, and but it's nerve wracking to think that you got to do all that, and like they're gonna literally take this project away from me in 21 days. If what are they gonna do?
You ever run across some people getting hurt feelings that you don't take their suggestion? Like, oh man, why'd you go with that cut? Oh man, I thought we were cool. Like, you ever run across that kind of?
We're in an industry of artists, and artists have a lot of egos at times, and it's very easy to bruise some of those egos. And yeah, of course, man, that's going to happen, and people are always going to kind of voice their opinions about that. And it's just part of the job, man. I mean, I was in Target the other day, literally in Target. I'm with my mom, like shopping with her. Something we'll do once in a while to catch up. We'll do like an occasional Target mission.
Yeah,
It's a nice little thing my mom and I do. So we're doing our little Target
nice
mission.
bonding session.
I'm like, in the electronics section, I'm looking for some shit, and I see this guy with like this big heavy beard like approaching me, and he's getting like closer and closer, and I'm like, what's this guy up to? What are you doing? Closer.
Who the fuck are you, guy?
Kind of closing in.
So I look behind you.
Kind of closing in.
kindest way to say, who's this?
So he shows up and he comes closer, and he's probably about 5 feet away, and he goes, "You Tom DeNucci?" And I'm just like,
No.
and I'm like, yeah. And he's like, I just saw your movie. And I'm like, oh, really? I'm like, wow, thanks, man. He goes, one suggestion, just one. And I'm like, hey, here we go.
Oh, here we
I'm
go.
just trying to get my cell phone charger here. And he's like, when I listened to the movie, the sound was a little funny to set the audio. I was like, huh. And, I try to babyface everybody. I'm not going to be I was just like, oh, no kidding. Well, maybe the theater was funny. He's like, no, I saw it in Showcase. I'm like, oh, have a nice day. And then this is the best part. He goes, hey, can I get a poster? And I was just like, I go, I don't have them on me.
Yeah.
You just carry all that stuff.
I just don't have it. Yeah, like I should have had like a little kit.
Yeah,
But it's just funny. So
shots and
my
everything.
point is like what I learned from that encounter, and this is a perfect stranger. And look, part of me, I'm still kind of new at this. Part of me was kind of fun. It was a little mini ego stroke to just have some stranger,
Somebody right,
albeit a beastly looking wilderness lumberjack, like family trapped in his basement, probably. But still, the fact that he, took the time to say, "Hey, man, I watched your movie. It was good, but the sound was a little fucked up. Thanks a lot, pal." Hey, it was nice.
Go watch it.
But
at
it
least
showed
he
me
came in
everybody's
peace.
gonna have something to say.
Yeah. But at least he came in peace, though.
Yeah, he did.
Because at first you were setting it up like, like, yo, man.
No, he kept getting closer and closer.
That's how you know.
You dated my sister.
It's like Rhode Island's like.
You never know how that's going to go.
Right. Always.
You never know. You want to be nice.
You're
but it's
always
like,
on guard.
You never know how that's going to go either, because it could be, oh, I saw your movie, or it could be like, oh, I think you fucked my wife.
Yeah. Who knows? Well,
You know what I'm saying? It's like two different directions
sister.
that can easily go in.
You broke my sister's heart.
bearded man, I don't know what you're talking about.
You know Kelly.
Are you allowed to bring that accent to Target?
Yeah. She was in love with you, man.
Broke my sister's heart.
But yeah, I guess the moral of the story is when you're putting yourself out there creatively, whether you're a musician, whether you're a painter, whatever you do, movies, whatever, everyone's going to have something to say about it. And you just got to like take that as part of the game and, understand that like everyone's got their opinions.
Yeah.
And, they don't always matter, but sometimes one thing I found is this: you don't want to get too hung up on people's opinions because then you'll be playing a game of like not being you creatively. But hey, if a dozen people are telling you the same fucking thing,
it's probably
maybe you should listen.
Something you want to think about.
Maybe you should listen to it. Like there is some good that can come out of that. And when I was first coming up, I used to be very negative about it. I used to be like, "What the fuck would this person say? Like, why would you even tell?" Like, I used to take it very personally, and I've learned to take it less personally and just kind of have it like, all right, maybe what good could come out of this person's suggestion? Like, what were they talking about? Maybe there was something.
Well, the thing too is he's commenting about the sound, and the movie's already done, so it's not like it's not like you could go back and change
to this moment where I got into. There was one year where I was performing an improv show every Friday for a year straight. And
is this stand-up comedy?
No, the improv comedy. It was an improv comedy show. And I used to get compliments until it took one lady to basically do what that guy did to you in Target. And I had the opposite response to it. Like, I kind of yearned for her thing because I got too used to people telling me, "Oh, you're funny, you're great." Like, when the fuck is someone going to tell me, like, okay, I took a step back and I feel like you're over the top. You're a little bit too much, or a little bit too over dramatic, or something like that. Something that I can take home as constructive criticism and put it on the table and really work it out for
and
myself.
Try it next time.
Because I can't see myself perform improv. I used to tell my director, "Please stop recording us, because we're not going to know what the fuck we were saying that day."
And you might want to do it again.
Then, no, she would want to take the recordings and then take them and put them into scenarios and make pieces out of them. And which is a great creative way to come up with new stories and ideas to improvise. But it was also not in a format that was very structured.
Well, see, what I realized too is that some people, they get and they pussyfoot around it. They don't want to say something to you that might hurt your feelings.
It was good.
Yeah.
When you hear the voice go up like that, it's usually bullshit.
Yeah, it sounds like somebody squeezing their nuts.
Yeah.
Well, well. But yeah. But no, people tend to pussyfoot around some of the. But then when you give it to them, like a real honest response, some people go, you're hating. Oh, you're a hater, and just dismiss you like that. I don't like that. You have to have a certain kind of mentality to be constructive,
especially if you're charging for it.
No,
if someone's paying $7.99 to watch your shit on demand. Well, fuck, then they have the reason, they have every right to be like, I didn't enjoy that, or that wasn't for me, or...
Yeah.
If you're charging money, like, you're damn right people have a right to speak up about it.
Yeah,
absolutely, I pay my money, I should... And then, you gotta be kind of nice, like, giving constructive criticism in person, I think, is different, too. Like, you can be nice about it.
Oh yeah, well, people. Let me tell you something.
Like, your fucking movie sucked, bro. Like,
you gotta have the thick skin because on the internet people go nuts. Like some of the reviews that people have said about some of my films over the years. Like at first it would hurt a little bit, and then it kind of just gets funny, and then over time, and then you're like, oh wow, and then like you see that, like you said, like people on the internet. There's something about that screen that's a protective layer, and they'll just like.
Internet tough guys.
Yeah, like I'm gonna sound like a corny, like a little kid, but like sometimes it's just mean. It's just like you're not even being. We're just being mean right now. Like you didn't even. This is beyond like you dislike the movie.
Yeah.
And it's funny. It's made me get to the point where like coming up, I was like every other film kid. I might see like something goofy, but that movie looks fucking dumb. That movie looks whatever. I'll go here another dragon that breathes fire and takes over a town. This is dumb. And now I'm at the point where like someone was hating on a movie. Like I was in the car with some friends the other day. They were like hating on something that's coming out. I hadn't even seen it yet. I was like, well, hey guys, a lot of people worked hard on that movie. Maybe.
Yeah, the best man Darryl worked on that.
Maybe it wasn't even the director's fault. Maybe something else happened.
Or you have like friends on set, and you're like, God.
No, I'm like that with new pieces, like new theatrical pieces, because
give it a minute.
You help create one, and then it's just like, guys, this is not an easy thing to do. And then like to cast the right people to, especially when you're the writer, director, and at performing in it,
it's very hard.
Like,
what was it like working with Paz? Did you get to interact with him a lot?
Yeah, I did. I got a chance to write one of the early drafts of Paz way back when, and I got to spend a lot of time with him. And I'm a big boxing fan. So, like, right off the bat, it was cool to kind of just hear about some of the stories that he has and some of the things that he did. And what I always kind of found cool about Vinny Paz was he was kind of like a family business in a lot of ways. Like, I always loved the relationship that he had with his father and him. And his father, although wasn't officially his manager, kind of acted like his manager at times. And would do things like, in order to get the boxing community, you know, extra excited about a bout or something, he'd be like, well, we could have this fight at the Civic Center, back when they called the Dunk the Civic Center.
Right.
And we could sell this thing out, and people would be hanging from the rafters, and, you know, Vinny would get these, like, huge crowds to come see him fight, and it was just cool to hear. Like, I love that time period for me. Like, I grew up, I'm a baby of the 80s, kid of the early 90s, so, like, you know, hearing stories about the early 90s and, like, that era reminds me of being a little kid, and I remember being very, very little and hearing about Vinny's broken neck, the car accident, and all that shit.
I remember seeing that shit on the news.
Yeah, and it was all over Rhode Island. And when you think about what he did, I mean, it really is the greatest comeback in sports history. To come back from a broken neck and play a sport where, hello, you get punched in the fucking head.
Yeah, right.
And your neck goes back.
Yeah, your neck snaps every time.
Yeah.
And I remember just one conversation, and this tells you, you know, a little bit about boxers and what they deal with and what they go through, even from like a head trauma perspective. One day we were just sitting on his deck, and I was like, Vinny, how many times do you think you've taken a punch, you know, a shot to the head, a blow to the head? How many? You know, when you add up fights, sparring bouts, training, just catching a punch, you know, during training. And he was like, Tom, he's like, probably like at least 100,000 punches to the head. You know, like, 100,000 shots to the head. And if you think about it, I mean, like, he fought 60 professional fights. You get hit like a couple hundred times every fight. And then sparring and training. And he fought for, you know, the guy fought for.
He probably started when he was 8 or 9.
I feel like, and I'm pulling these numbers kind of out of my ass a little bit, but I think they're fairly accurate. I think he fought from like 1984 to like 2000, 2001.
That's about,
so like, do that math, man. That's a lot of years of training. And forget about the fights in the ring, just the training, like the sparring with guys.
Yeah.
Like, that's something that I learned from developing the movie. Like, they'll bring guys in from all over town to, you know, just to spar and stuff like that. It was cool. That movie's great. Chad Verdi did a great job with that movie. That was Chad's dream, was to kind of make this Vinny Paz movie for a long time, and he saw it, put together the pieces. Miles Teller did a tremendous job.
I like Miles Teller a lot, man.
He's a movie star. Nice guy too, man.
That dude came out of nowhere and just boomed. It was like, it wasn't
big star.
For me, it wasn't like no slow graduate, and then it was like, oh, this is this great movie. He just came on the scene and just skyrocketed. Man.
Yeah, and he's a real deal guy. You know, like it was pretty funny just to kind of like see him in his element, and just you know, like one of those things where, not to put myself over, but I hadn't seen him for like a year or two almost. This was one of those movies where sometimes you make a movie and it doesn't come out for a long time for various marketing reasons. They're strategizing when to put it out at the right time. It was like 2 years later almost by the time we actually had the premiere and everything. And I remember like seeing him at the bar, and like I'm sounding like I'm like, you know, a grade school girl right now. And I was like, is he gonna remember me? You know, kind of. The guy's a movie star. You know, he's like a huge movie star. I'm like, is he gonna remember me? Like, you know, I was in like a couple scenes with him, whatever. And I see him at the bar, and he sees me, and he's like, Tommy, what's up, man? And I was just like, oh wow, this guy's cool. You know what I mean? Like, he's a real guy. Like, even though we just hung out for a couple weeks during the filming of this movie,
You feel even more.
yeah, it's like,
I remember.
he gives a shit. He gives a shit. It's nice.
He knows my name.
One thing about show business and entertainment and like all this stuff is I realize that like sometimes you can go such a small distance to give a shit, and it can mean so much to a person just to be like, oh, I remembered that person's name. You know, and you can use that with everything, like a production assistant who helps you park your car or whatever. And at the end of the night, if you're like, hey, thanks, Dave. Like, that means a lot to Dave.
Like, oh, shit.
You know what I mean? And, like, that's like a little thing that...
That's where you get a fist bump.
Like you say bye to the guy at the end of the night.
Man.
You know, that can go a long way. I try to do that on all my sets, you know. And a lot of times it's funny. Like, I find myself hanging out with, like, you know, the younger kids, like the PAs that are coming up more, because they're like so eager at that point. They're just happy to be there.
Right.
And it's cool to see that, like, that kind of fire on set. And, you try to go the extra mile. Remember little things like remembering people's names goes a long way.
What do you got coming up next? It's time to shamelessly self-promote.
Yeah, sure. Well, I just shot a kids movie.
Nice.
Which we haven't revealed the name yet, but I'm actually going out to LA to record John Lovitz, who's doing the voice of. It's an animated / live action spy dog movie.
Spy dog.
So
Nice.
basically, he's a dog by day, regular family pet, and at night he turns into a crime-fighting secret agent spy.
Is it
dog.
McGruff? Is it McGruff the crime
It's
dog?
kind of like that. Look, this is one of those things where.
The Hannah Montana story of McGruff.
Yeah, shout out to Richard Switzer. He's the producer on this movie, and he hired me to do this job. And it's one of those things where, kind of like, hey man, we need a talking dog script. Can you come up with one? And I was like, give me 9 days. And we came up with this like concept and threw it together quick. Dean Cain's in the movie.
What?
Yeah, he was
TV Superman.
Dean Cain was awesome. He came in and average page count of a day when you shoot. If you're on a smaller movie, like we shot this whole movie in 14 days, so the average page count you want to be hitting is like 7-8 pages. On Dean's days, we were shooting like 14-page days, like double time, and he was just so professional and so on point. Knew exactly where to be at all times. Was making jokes, cracking jokes, being fun. Awesome fucking guy. Loved working with him.
Ripley's Believe It or Not.
Yes, wow. I forgot all about that.
Yep.
Wow, man.
I'm mad I know that much about Dean Cain.
Dean Cain.
Pop culture wizard.
Dean Cain.
No joke.
I tried to laugh at this day.
But yeah, he was great, and I'm excited. We worked with a lot of great local actors, and Fred Sullivan's a great local actor who's from Rhode Island, and he got a chance to really shine in this movie. And Casey Seymour Kim, and just a lot of nice. I always like to have a nice mix of local actors that like you mentioned, a lot of local. You do a lot of stuff in the theater around here. I like to see a lot of plays too because there's so many people that are kind of just like hanging around in this local Rhode Island theater scene. There's so much talent around here.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I like to scout them out. That's why we're gonna have to have a conversation later. You can give me a depth chart.
Yes, sir.
Give me a depth chart of who you think is. We're looking for some heavy hitters in these parts.
All right.
This guy.
I'm heavy and I hit hard. So
You was talking about your batting cage experience earlier.
Listen, I can't play.
I'm not too sure about that.
He went for your speed.
I can't play any baseball players, but anything else.
Well, I like that, man. I'll definitely keep that in mind. We'll get you guys into a cameo. There's a chance that. So, guys, something you got to learn about me is I'm a little bit of a maniac. I'm kind of a workaholic. I don't sleep very much. I sleep about. This is no bullshit because people say they don't sleep, but they're usually lying to you. I sleep 4.5 hours a night. That's no joke. That's legit. That's what I do. Sometimes nap for about half an hour late afternoon, but I'm very functional that way. I'm working all the time. So I have a movie that we're going to shoot in October around here. It's going to be like a thriller. I'm excited about that one. We'll have more info on that soon. So maybe we'll get you guys some cameos.
I can push a lady out the way. Get out my way, bitch.
Oh my God!
Has that been a lifelong dream?
Yes.
Ever since I saw it on
waiting to say that shit.
I saw it on the Living Color one time.
It'd be one of those things where we get the camera on you, you forget your line. You're like, get out of. What do I say?
Move, bitch.
Move.
Oh, wait.
You're like, no, it's get out of my way, bitch.
Yeah, these pretzels are making me thirsty.
Yeah, no. This is your one moment to shine.
Tom DeNucci in the house,
Yes,
guys.
Tom DeNucci.
Thanks
Yes,
for coming
indeed.
out.
Thank you for
Hanging out with
Fun
us.
to have you.
Appreciate you.
Yes, indeed.
Follow me on Instagram.
Go see Vault.
At Tom DeNucci. You can follow me on Instagram. It's at TomDenucci. And you can check out Vault on demand on all your platforms. And coming out on Blu-ray
August
13th. Yeah.
And we got the poster autographed by a bunch of people.
Yes, indeed.
Forsyth's on there, Buddy
Forsyth.
Providence.
I can't believe I've been this close to somebody that
We'll
was
get
close to
closer.
Don Johnson.
Right?
Yeah, yep.
Don Johnson.
Don Johnson.
Yes.
The whole gang.
Theo Rossi. Clive Standing.
Yeah, we got the whole gang.
I even asked you,
Samira
Chaz
Wiley.
Parliamentary.
Yeah, Chaz.
Oh,
yeah.
We're doing part 2, guys.
Oh, yeah,
Part
man.
2.
Yeah, most definitely we got to do
We're going
part
to
2.
scrape the surface of this onion.
My favorite line was when she was like, "Should I do that?" she didn't want to get that cup.
Oh,
He
I'm
kept
glad
telling
you
her,
actually watched the movie.
"Yeah, man,
I figured maybe sometimes people don't actually.
I've watched that movie, man. Like, hell
You actually watched the movie.
Oh yeah, like first
wasn't
I
lying.
seen it. They said that you heard about the movie that motherfuckers robbed in the Superman building. I'm like, motherfuckers robbed the Superman building? I didn't know the story. Then they went and said, then I went to do the research, and I'm just like, oh shit, this is
I saw them downtown because I work at the textile building, so I was used to see them.
because he was. I don't think he was mayor yet.
No,
but
he wasn't.
But it was his first mayoral reign, thing was in
during
the
that
70s.
time. Yeah, it was during that time. But he wasn't involved.
He wasn't involved. I'm like,
Yeah, he wasn't like, I'll let this happen if you wet my beak a little bit.
Yeah. I was a big